Hey guys, this is Alan, and if you're wondering how to successfully grow a mango tree, whether it's grafted or seedling, well, look no farther, because I will give you everything you need to know in order to successfully grow a mango tree. And towards the end of the video, I will also give you my secret ingredient in order to successfully grow any mango anywhere. It's so secret, nobody knows about it. So you're gonna have to watch the whole thing in order to find out. Let's get started. The tree you see behind me, that's the oldest mango tree I have in the ground. It has been in the ground for many years now. I lost count. I think I planted it in 2017 or 2018. It was obviously a lot smaller, but this tree right here taught me everything that I needed to know in order to successfully grow any mango tree. Here at the nursery, we grow hundreds of mangoes every single year. They come in grafted. Somebody else does the grafting in South Florida, but we grow them here over the years, and obviously we have to put them in the greenhouse in the winter time because they are cold sensitive. But you know what, it's not really that complicated, so let's get to it. Sun requirements. Mango trees will take full sun anywhere in the United States. Full sun anywhere, even here in the desert. Now you have to understand something. If your tree is freshly planted in the ground within a year old or so, your tree will sunburn. That is normal. Don't worry about it. Your tree is not going to die. Sunburn is going to be only temporary, and once your tree actually roots itself fully in the ground, you will not experience sunburn anymore. The tree you see in front of me just now is getting shaded, and right now is 2:14 in the afternoon. So just to give you a perspective, afternoon for me starts when the temperatures reach 100 degrees. That is around 9:30 in the morning. If your tree was not able to take full sun, well, it would have been dead by now. But anyways, you see, no sunburn anywhere. Actually got new growth coming up everywhere. And this is normal for me around this time of the year, because usually in my area, they like to grow or flush usually about 2 to 4 times a year. It just depends on the temperatures. But anyways, full sun. Yes, mango trees will also grow in the shade. The main difference I've seen in the shade, let me show you. Your leaves are gonna get a lot bigger. They are also going to stay a lot greener. And the reason they get this big in the shade is simply because they are trying to catch more sunlight. In the sun, usually the leaves are going to stay smaller, especially in extreme temperatures. Now, can you grow them in the shade? Yes, you can. Now, the only difference I've noticed in the shade is just the way the leaves grow and how much fruit they set. Both trees will flower in the sun and in the shade. In the shade, they just don't get pollinated as well as they do in the sun. That will be the main difference. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the winter protection. Mango trees in my area are cold sensitive. What does that mean? It means that even if you throw a blanket over the tree in the winter time, inside that blanket it's still going to be cold. That cold will damage your tree. How cold is too cold? Well, trees are just like you and I. They are all different. But usually I've noticed trees start taking damage when we start getting in the 20s. Now remember, it's not about the number, it's about how long you stay cold. 28 degrees for 1 hour is not the same as 28 degrees for 12 hours straight. So every winter is going to be different, especially if you live in the desert. So do not get complacent. You will need to cold protect your tree if you live in an area that gets cold. So I have trees that have taken low 20s in a good microclimate with just frost protection, like in this area right here. This tree right here will take mid-20s, no issues, every winter, briefly. But if I drop in the low 20s, then no amount of microclimate in my area will help me. And that is how I lost most of the canopy on this tree. This tree was actually taller than the structure you see right here. But a few years ago, I got complacent. I did not protect my tree and it took damage. Since then, I've been protecting it. I built a greenhouse around it. And when I drop in the low 20s, I don't chance it. I put a heater in there just to be safe. You will need to do that every single year for the life of the tree. There is not a single variety out there that will take the winter better than another. I have seen same varieties. One tree takes the winter better and the other one does not. Even within the same varieties, there is not a single variety out there that is cold hardy. Do not let people tell you otherwise, especially for grafted varieties. Now, if you have a mango tree grown from seed, those are going to be the only ones that are actually naturally hardier and able to take more cold than a grafted tree. So if you're having issues growing a mango tree in your area because you're too cold, well, try growing a mango from seed. All right, let's talk about the root system of mango trees. Mango trees have a taproot system. Their roots go straight down in the ground. So as they get rooted in the ground, you want to deep water them. But yes, in the tropics, mango trees get big. So do not plant them close to structures. In non-tropical areas like my area and pretty much anywhere in the world where your temperatures in the winter time drop below 30 degrees, your mango trees are gonna grow a lot slower. Even varieties that naturally get huge, they do not get big in non-tropical areas. So if you have a grafted tree, you can probably get away with planting them closer to other structures simply because, well, they're not gonna get that big. Now if you have a seedling, those guys are gonna be the only trees out there that will actually get big. So you want to make sure you give them plenty of space to grow. Let's talk about pollination. Mango trees are self-fertile, meaning you only need one tree to get fruit. So one tree will give you plenty of fruits. But remember, grafted trees will give you fruits the same year. Seedlings will take a few years to give you fruit. Those grown from seed usually take a few years. How long is a few years? Well, for me, I have another video if you want to look it up. My seedling took 3 years to start flowering, so they don't really take that long. Now remember, trees are just like you and I. Just because mine took 3 years, it doesn't mean yours will take 3 years. It could take 5 years, it could take 10 years, it could take 1 year. It just depends. Those grafted, that's gonna be the only advantage that you get when you buy a grafted tree. They fruit the same year. But the thing with those trees is, just because they fruit, it doesn't mean they are able to support the fruit. So normally, we don't let them fruit because the fruits are too heavy for the branches and they tend to break, especially in my area since I get a lot of wind. Right, let's go ahead and talk about the structure of the tree. Now, mango trees, naturally, they actually grow upright. Yes, they usually have a single branch or two, and they like to grow up and then create a smaller canopy on the top. Now, if you want a bushier tree like the one that I have in front of me, all you gotta do is just top it off. You can see where we cut it right here, and that will promote branching below that cut, so you get a lot more branches. I don't want my mango trees to get that big like the first one that I showed you, simply because it's a lot harder to protect. This structure right here, I don't know, I think it's about all the way to the top of those pipes up there, maybe 14, 15 feet tall. Now this is a little big, so it gets complicated if you have to build something like this. If you let your trees grow too big. Now this is as big as my tree is going to get. As you can see, I got branches growing up there and on the side. So what happens before the winter hits, we prune everything down and just keep it to this size. Can you keep things small indefinitely? Well, you can try. So far in my area, they grow slow, so it's no big deal. So this is not a lot of work for me. Like I said, you can let them grow or prune them down. My recommendation, if you have to protect them in the winter time, is to keep them short, so it makes it easier for you to protect them. Okay, let's talk about the watering. How do you water a mango tree? Well, if you have your trees in a container, like this little mangoes right here, container watering is very easy. You just follow the 50% rule. I got videos specifically talking about this, so if you want to watch them, click the links in the description. But just as a summary, wait until 50% of your pot is dry, and however often that happens, that's how often you're going to water your mango tree. Here in the summer, unless the mango trees are extremely root bound, we usually water them from 1 to 2 times a day, because 1 to twice a day, they dry 50%. Very easy to do, very easy rule to follow. In the winter time, well, you can follow the same rule, but in the winter it's going to take a few days to dry 50%. So usually this container right here in the winter will take in between 3 to 4 days to dry, you know, 50 to 75%. And that's how often we water them in the winter time. Very easy to do. There's really no way you can screw that one up if you follow that rule. If your tree is in the ground, like this hatcher tree right here, well, the first year your tree is in the ground, you're gonna follow the finger method. I have another video where I specifically talk about the finger method, how to water your new trees in the ground the first year. But just to give you a summary, you stick your tree in the ground and then you water. Every 12 to 24 hours, the first few days after you planted your tree in the ground, you're gonna stick your finger in the dirt all the way down. And what you're doing is, you're gonna wait until you no longer feel moisture on the tip of your finger. However long that takes, that's how often you're gonna water your mango tree the first year in the ground. It's that simple, easy. Usually in my area, that's gonna be every day to every other day for the first year. The root system of mango trees grows straight down in the ground. So as it gets older, you wanna start deep watering. So what do I mean by deep watering? Well, you're gonna water until you think the water saturated the ground several feet. And then you're gonna have to wait longer for the soil to dry somewhat in between watering. So it's extremely hard for me to explain how often and how long to do that. So I highly encourage you to watch my how to deep water your plants in the ground video, so that will teach you a lot better how to actually deep water your plant. But remember, you want to water where the tree is actually drinking the water. And as your tree gets older, its root system will grow straight down in the ground. And that is where you want the water to be. And that's going to take longer for the water to saturate the ground deeper. So that means you're going to have to water longer. But then, since you're oversaturating the ground, you don't have to water that often. Just to give you an idea, this tree right here, right now, I'm watering about every 6 days. Every 6 days, I have a drip system in here. And I run the drip system for about 12 hours straight. This head right here puts out 13 gallons of water an hour. So it runs for 12 hours straight. And I think that's how long it takes to saturate this area right here, at least 5 to 10 feet. The good thing about deep watering is it's really hard to overdo it. If you overwater the tree, it's just not gonna overwater the tree. It's just gonna take a little longer for the tree to dry in between watering. So it's, you know, it's easy to do. All right, let's go to the next one. So let's talk about fertilization. If your tree is in a container, it's very easy to do. Any slow release fertilizer will work. Now, mango trees surprisingly don't really need that much fertilizer. Our mango trees we fertilize them maybe once a year, and when we do, we usually give them half the dosage of what we give our other trees, and they grow. Even if we forget to fertilize them, they still grow. It's crazy. Minimal fertilization required. Easy. Now, if your tree is in the ground, to be honest, any type of organic material will work. But even if you don't do anything, it will still grow. Like this one right here, we do have some mulching here, pine needles, and then we throw some compost in here every once in a while. This is our Kathy mango. Very popular. People like it. One of the top sellers here when we have them, because the mangoes are very complex flavor, super good. But anyways, yeah, all we do is just organic material in the ground and a slow release fertilizer in the containers. No special fertilizer is required, and even if you don't fertilize, they will still grow. Like this one right here. Let me show you the soil around the trunk on this fruit punch. I really haven't done anything to this tree, I would say, for the past 2 years. I got grass growing here. Now I do have some mulching here just from the stuff just blowing around, but I don't do anything to this tree right here. And if you guys have been following me for a little while, you can see how this tree has grown over the years, and all the fruit that I get every year. Now, do I get all of them to ripen? No, I don't, because, well, it's really windy in my area and they drop all the time. But yeah, you really don't need anything special. If anybody tells you you do, I wouldn't listen to them. Can you grow a mango tree in a container? Of course you can. Surprisingly, even though mango trees have a taproot system, unlike most trees, they actually do okay in a container. And I actually recommend it in cold areas. It makes it a lot easier to move the plants around. Can you keep it in a container for a long time? Yes, you can. The only thing that you will need to keep an eye on is the taproot. What usually happens is it will grow down, and then if you don't uppot your tree as it gets older, once it becomes root bound, it will start circling the bottom of the container. To prevent that, what you want to do is let your tree grow, and then once you know it needs to be uppotted, go a few inches wider and a few inches deeper, and keep doing that until whatever size you think you want to keep your mango tree in the container. The good thing about areas that get cold in the winter time is your mango trees are going to take a long time to grow, so you can keep them in the container for a very long time. Now, if you're living in the tropics, obviously your trees are going to grow way too fast, and it's going to be very hard to keep them in containers long term because they will just grow very quickly. So it's up to you what you want to do. Another quick pointer about containers: do not put your little mango in a huge container. It will not make it grow faster. What actually happens is mango trees do not like to stay wet, so you will get rot. What I've noticed with mango trees that stay wet is your leaves will curl up, like very extreme curling. If you actually get extreme curling like this, your entire canopy, that means your root system has been wet for many months. To prevent that, you want a potting mix that drains the water very quickly, like follow my 20-second rule. Fill it up with water, it needs to drain within 20 seconds. Through the middle, you should be okay. And never uppot your tree in a huge container. Always uppotting increments, and only when your tree needs to be uppotted. You follow that rule, you will be successful growing your mango tree in a container. And that brings us to my personal growing tips. Now, everything that I just told you guys is just personal experience. I started from nothing. Nobody taught me anything. Everything that I just told you, I had to learn the hard way. Mango trees are very easy to grow. Now let me give you the scoop on the special sauce to growing mango trees, and that is nothing. You don't need anything to be successful growing a mango tree. To be honest, all you need is water. The main challenge anybody is going to have when growing mango trees, it's going to be winter. Mango trees are cold sensitive. You need to change the ambient temperature around the tree in order to protect it. So that can be a challenge for some people. For me, I have to build a structure around my tree, and I have to put a heater when we drop in the low 20s. Now, that may not be something that a lot of people are willing to do, but guess what? Now you know exactly what you need to do in order to be successful. A lot of people say that you need a special soil amendments in order to be successful growing mango trees. You don't need anything. The pH in this area right here, when I first planted this mango many years ago, I think it was 8.2 or 8.4, and I don't think it has changed much over the years. So yes, mango trees will grow in alkaline soil. Now, the only thing that I do, I guess special, which I do to all my trees, is I make sure whatever hole my tree goes in, that it drains the water. That's it. You don't want water pooling in there. I don't like digging holes. I'm lazy, guys. So the hole that I dug for this plant was just a tiny bit bigger than the root ball. Did that make a difference? I don't think so. I mean, the proof is right in front of me. So no, you don't need anything special to be successful growing a mango tree. Don't waste your money like I did when I first started. Over the years, I learned mango trees are super easy to grow. Now, let me give you a few pointers about mango trees, especially in non-tropical areas. The first step is, once you put your tree in the ground, it will take 1 to 2 years for that tree to fully root itself in the ground. For that time, you will not see any top growth on your tree. That is normal. No amount of fertilizer or water is going to make your tree grow faster. You know your tree is rooted in the ground somewhat when you start seeing new growth. Like this right here. Now, if you see that a few weeks or even a month or two after you planted your tree in the ground, I'm sorry, but it's not the amendment that you put in the ground. That right there was meant to happen in the container before you planted your tree in the ground. Now, just because you see it do this in the ground doesn't mean it's because of what you did. It just was already meant to happen. A few months after you put your tree in the ground, you will not see any growth out of it, and that is normal. Don't worry about it. Give your tree 1 year to 2 years to root itself in the ground, and it will start to grow. Now, in the meantime, if your mango tree takes damage, let's say you forget to protect it in the winter time, that will set you back. Now, instead of taking 1 to 2 years to root itself in the ground, now the tree has to recover from the damage that it sustained for whatever reason, and it's going to take longer. Now it may take even up to 3 years to root itself in the ground. So if your tree takes damage every winter time and you wonder why you have no fruits, well, it's because your tree is recovering from the winter damage every single year, and it's not even fully rooted in the ground. Another pointer about mango trees is the fruit. Mango trees are one of the only few trees that we have here at the nursery that we can visually see benefit from thinning the fruits. So when your mango trees are flowering, let them flower, let them set fruit until you see the little mangoes forming, and then pluck the flowers off, so you can send the energy to the root system. When you have a lot of mango trees, I will make another video next year about this. I forgot this year. But you can see, usually when you have rows of mango trees, you can see the ones that are growing that have like nice new growth like this, and then you can see the ones that don't, and usually the ones that don't have fruit on them. And that is true for mango trees, especially if they have fruit. It takes a lot of energy for the fruits to ripen, so the tree usually does not flush. It will not grow new leaves until the fruits are done ripening. So that's why I recommend for the first year at least pluck the flowers off, so that way your tree will concentrate on growing roots. Once your tree gets older, don't even worry about it. Your tree naturally will drop a lot of the fruits, especially in non-tropical areas. And that is all the I guess tips that I have for growing mango trees. And if this helped you out, don't forget to like the video, comment below, and as always, I will see you next time.